Hi, we're going to feed the worms today. They have been in the bin for about 3 days, getting used to the new environment, and the microbes are starting to colonize the bin as well. So we can add our first set of food scraps. And just as a general rule of how much to feed your worms, they can process about a quarter to a third of their weight per day in food. And so since we started with 2 pounds of worms using that formula, that would be about a half pound a day. And since we're doing it every 3 days, it will be roughly 3/4 of a pound up to a pound of food. And we're going to start slowly by only feeding every 3 days because that gives us a chance to observe how quickly the worms are converting that. We want to make sure that we're not overfeeding the worms initially and throwing the bin out of balance. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the type of food that I use in the worm system. I have been collecting for the past 3 days the food and vegetable scraps from the kitchen, and worms really like their scraps. They do best when they've been shredded or cut up. So with banana peels, for example, I'll cut it into pieces, or it's perfect for if you've peeled carrots or potato. That's great. They also like food that microbes have started to colonize, so I typically wait a few days before I put the food in the bin. So what I'll do is over the first 3 days I wait, and then over the next 3 days before I feed them again, I'll let that food sit and start to get a little soft and mushy for them. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm just going to add it as an even layer over the top of the bin. This particular system suggests about a 2-inch layer. So I'll put it on top of the bedding. And then what I also like to do is add a layer of bedding on top of that food to try to keep the moisture and the pH balance. So I'm using shredded newsprint that's just slightly moistened to cover over the food scraps. Okay, so now what I can do is let the worms do their work, and I'll come back in 3 days to check them. And we'll just sort of take a look in the bin here. So I've got the bedding on top of the layer of food scraps. And now I can zip this up and leave them be until I can check on them in a few days. And this sort of system is it's quicker than a compost pile. So they can finish food scraps and they'll convert both the food and the bedding into worm casings in 3 to 4 months. And in this system, I will be able to access that from the bottom and continually put fresh food and bedding on the top.